Far away from the busy worlds of the Galactic Union, a small star system lay almost forgotten. Its sun was old and weak, barely lighting the planets that circled it. On one of those planets, deep in the shadows of great mountains and thick forests, something was wrong. Very wrong. The planet was called Varka. It was not a friendly place. Its weather was wild and dangerous. Its animals were fierce and deadly, and its people, well, they were nothing like the kind, peaceful beings most others knew. They had learned to survive through pain, struggle, and fighting. Their world was a harsh death world. For centuries, the Varkans had lived in isolation. But now their isolation was ending. A terrible enemy had come to destroy everything they loved. The enemy was so strong and cruel that even the toughest Varkans could not fight it alone. Their cities were burning. Their forests were dying. Their people were running out of hope. In a hidden base beneath the ruins of what was once the Varkans' great capital, a small group of leaders gathered. Their faces were tired, marked by fear and determination. They had one last chance: send a signal out into space, a call for help. But who would answer? They did not expect much. Many had heard stories of the Galactic Union, a great government that claimed to protect all worlds. But the Union was far away and often slow to act. Besides, Varka was a death world, dangerous, wild, and not worth the trouble. Help would not come easily. Still, they sent the SOS. The signal was simple but powerful. It carried the message: "We are under attack. We need help. Please come quickly." It sent out in all directions, hoping to reach anyone who might care. The signal drifted through space, crossing empty fields of stars and dark voids. Most ships ignored it. Many thought it was a trick or a test. But far away, in a place called Earth, a small but fierce group of humans picked up the signal. These humans were known as Deathworlders. Unlike most people in the galaxy, the Deathworlders did not come from peaceful planets. They came from Earth, a world known for its dangerous environments, deadly animals, and brutal survival challenges. Deathworlders were raised to be strong, smart, and ready for anything. They trained in harsh conditions, learning to fight, hunt, and survive where others would fail. For the Deathworlders, the SOS was a call they could not ignore. In a large command center on Earth, a group of officers and leaders watched the incoming signal carefully. The room was filled with maps, screens, and the quiet hum of computers. Commander Lyra stood at the center, her eyes sharp and full of focus. "This is not a usual SOS," she said. "The Varkans come from a death world. Their planet is hostile, and their enemy must be terrible to force them to ask for help." Her second-in-command, a man named Rafe, nodded. "We can't ignore it. If we don't answer, who will? The Galactic Union won't act fast enough. We are the only ones ready." The room was silent for a moment. Then Commander Lyra made her decision. "Prepare the fleet. We leave in 24 hours. The Deathworlder fleet was small but powerful. Their ships were built to survive in the worst conditions, with strong armor and advanced weapons. The crews were the best trained soldiers and explorers Earth had to offer. They were ready for anything. As the fleet prepared to launch, Commander Lyra walked through the corridors of the command center. She thought about the Varkans, creatures unknown from a wild planet now reaching out for help. She thought about the dangers ahead and the chance to prove that humanity could be more than just survivors. They could be heroes. The ships lifted, off one by one, engines roaring into the dark sky. People watched and cheered. This mission was different. It was not just about fighting or conquering, it was about saving lives. The fleet sped through space, crossing light years in days. On the bridge of the lead ship, the Valiant, Commander Lyra looked at the stars ahead. She could feel the weight of the mission on her shoulders. "Status report," she said. "All systems ready, Commander," her navigator replied. "We will reach the Varkan system in 6 hours." Lyra nodded. "Good. Prepare the landing teams. We don't know what we will find." As they got closer, the first signs of trouble appeared. Sensors picked up strange energy readings around the Varkan planet. The air was thick with danger, but the Deathworlders were not afraid. They had trained for this. Finally, the planet came into view. It was a harsh world. Dark clouds covered much of its surface, and great storms raged across the lands. Fires burned in some places, smoke rising high into the sky. The cities were in ruins, and the forests looked sick and dying. The SOS had been true. Lyra felt a surge of determination. Prepare for orbit. We are here to help. As the Valiant moved into position, the rest of the fleet followed, forming a strong shield around the planet. The Deathworlders were ready to answer the call, to bring hope to a dying world, and to show that humanity was more than just survivors. They were warriors of light in the darkest night. The Deathworlder fleet moved steadily toward the Varkan system. Commander Lyra stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the planet grow larger on the view screen. It was a wild and dangerous place, but the humans had faced worse. Their lives had prepared them for this moment. We're entering orbit, the pilot announced. All ships in position. The ship slid smoothly around the planet, forming a protective ring in space. The planet looked even more frightening up close. Great storms swirled in thick clouds. Below, fires burned fiercely, sending smoke high into the sky. It was clear the SOS signal was real and urgent. Scan the surface, Lyra ordered. Find any signs of survivors. The sensors beeped as they searched. They found broken cities and damaged technology. Some parts of the planet's surface seemed dead, but there were small areas still glowing with life, places where people might still be alive. Suddenly, a warning flashed on the screen. Commander, the sensor officer said, we're detecting hostile energy weapons firing from the planet. Lyra frowned. Show me. On the view screen, beams of blue and green light streaked into space, striking at the fleet. The ships shook under the attacks, but the Deathworlders held firm. Their shields absorbed the blasts. Return fire, Lyra ordered. Protect the fleet. The Valiant and other ships fired back with precision. The attackers were strong but scattered. The Deathworlders were ready. The strange weapons stopped firing after a few minutes, but the threat was clear. The Varkan's enemies were still out there, and they did not want help arriving. Lyra sent a message to all ships. Hold position. We will not let this planet fall. Meanwhile, below the thick clouds, the Deathworlder landing teams prepared to descend. Their ships carried soldiers trained for the worst environments, armed, armored, and ready to face any danger. Lieutenant Mara led one of the first squads to land. As their shuttle passed through the atmosphere, the violent storms buffeted them. Hard, lightning flashed, and the winds howled like wild beasts. Brace for impact, Mara said, gripping the controls. The shuttle landed roughly but safely on a barren plain near the ruins of a city. Smoke rose in the distance. The squad quickly disembarked, weapons ready. This place is worse than we expected, Mara said quietly. The soldiers moved carefully through the ruins. The silence was broken only by distant crashes and the occasional scream. It was clear the battle was far from over. Suddenly, movement caught Mara's eye. Figures, small, fast and strange, darted between the broken buildings. The Varkans. Mara raised her hand to signal a halt. The Varkans looked wild and worn, their skin marked with scars and dirt. Their eyes showed both fear and hope. One stepped forward, a tall female with a deep voice. You are here to help? Mara nodded. Yes, we received your SOS. We want to protect your people. But you must tell us what is happening. The Varkan woman, who introduced herself as Tira, led Mara's team to a hidden underground shelter. Inside, more survivors gathered. Men, women, and children, all tired and scared but alive. Tira explained the enemy. They come like a plague. They destroy everything. We fight, but we are losing. Lyra's team listened carefully. They knew this was bigger than a simple rescue mission. The Varkans faced an enemy that could threaten many worlds. Back in orbit, the fleet scanned the planet again. Strange signals came from the deep forests and dark mountains, signals that suggested the enemy was hiding and preparing for another attack. Lyra called a meeting with her officers. We cannot just protect the survivors, she said. We must find the enemy and stop them before they destroy more worlds. Her officers agreed. The Deathworlders were not just rescuers. They were warriors born for this fight. The next days were tense and dangerous. The landing teams moved through the forests, fighting off hostile creatures and strange machines that seemed alive. The Varkans joined the fight, their knowledge of the land helping the humans navigate the deadly terrain. Despite the hardships, small victories came. The Deathworlders destroyed enemy outposts and rescued more survivors. Every battle was a test of strength and will, but humanity's grit shone through. One night, as the teams camped in a hidden valley, Mara looked at the stars. She thought about Earth, her home, so far away. She felt proud to be part of something greater, a mission to save a dying world and prove that humans were more than survivors. They were protectors and fighters. Suddenly, alarms rang out. The enemy was attacking again, this time in full force. The battle that followed was fierce. Explosions lit the sky as Deathworlders and Varkans fought side by side. Mara's squad held the line, pushing back the enemy with everything they had. When the fight ended, silence returned. The enemy retreated, but the cost was high. Many were wounded. Some did not survive. Lyra's voice came through the comms, calm but firm. We hold the line, but this war has only just begun. The Deathworlders knew the road ahead would be hard, but they also knew they were not alone. Together with the Varkans, they would fight to save this world and many others. As the fleet stood watch in the dark skies, the stars seemed a little brighter. Hope was alive. The battle had been hard, but the Deathworlders and Varkans held their ground. The enemy's attacks came in waves, strange creatures and deadly machines striking from the shadows of the forests and ruins. Yet humanity's warriors did not falter. They fought with grit, skill, and a fierce determination that only Deathworlders possessed. Commander Lyra stood on the bridge of the Valiant, her eyes fixed on the battlefield below. The planet's surface was a mess of smoke and fire, but through the chaos, small signs of life still flickered. The Varkans were survivors, just like the humans who had come to help. Commander, her sensor officer called, we're detecting new signals from the enemy. They are gathering forces to attack one of our forward camps. Lyra clenched her jaw. Send reinforcements immediately. We cannot lose any ground. Down on the surface, Lieutenant Mara's squad was preparing for the enemy's next move. The night was dark and full of strange noises. The air was heavy with tension. Suddenly, the enemy attacked with fierce speed. Swarms of alien creatures poured out from the trees, their eyes glowing red in the darkness. They moved like shadows, fast and deadly. Mara's team opened fire, their weapons cutting through the creatures. But the enemy was relentless. Then, a loud roar echoed through the forest. Out of the shadows stepped a massive machine shaped like a giant insect. Its armor was thick and shining, and it fired powerful energy blasts. The Deathworlders fought back with all their strength. The battle raged for hours, until finally the giant machine fell, crashing to the ground in a shower of sparks and smoke. When the dust settled, the soldiers looked around. Many were injured, but their spirit was unbroken. Back in orbit, Lyra received an unexpected message. Commander Lyra, this is Tira of the Varkans, the voice came through the comms. There is something you need to see. Lyra ordered the Valiant to open a secure channel. Tira's face appeared on the screen, tired but hopeful. We found something buried deep beneath the ruins, she said. A hidden control center. It might hold the key to defeating the enemy. Lyra nodded. Prepare an exploration team. I want to know everything about it. The next day, a group of Deathworlders and Varkans descended into the underground control center. The air was stale and heavy, and the walls were covered with strange symbols. At the center of the room stood a large console, still glowing faintly. The explorers activated it carefully. Data flooded the screens, maps, enemy movements, and technology, far beyond what the Varkans had shown before. It's a command center, one of the Deathworlders said. They control the enemy forces from here. Lyra studied the information. The enemy was using the planet's own systems to attack and control their forces. If the Deathworlders could take over this center, they might turn the tide of the war. Get me a hacking team, Lyra ordered. We need to shut this down. The hacking was difficult. The enemy systems were complex and well protected, but the Deathworlders had something the enemy did not: human determination and cleverness born from harsh survival. After hours of work, the hackers broke through the defenses. The control center powered down, and the enemy forces on the surface began to lose coordination. Suddenly, the enemy launched a desperate attack on the control center itself, sending waves of creatures and machines to reclaim it. The Deathworlders and Varkans fought side by side, defending the underground base with all their might. Explosions rocked the tunnels, and the air was filled with the sounds of battle. In the end, the attackers were repelled. The control center was theirs. Back on the Valiant, Lyra felt a rare moment of hope. "We have the upper hand now," she said, "but the fight is far from over." Suddenly, the fleet's long-range sensors detected a massive movement in space. "Commander," the navigator said, "there's a large fleet approaching, unknown ships heavily armed." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They're coming for us. Prepare for battle." The Deathworlder fleet shifted into battle formation. The new enemy fleet moved fast and with purpose. The skies over Varka were about to see a war unlike any before. As the two fleets closed in, Lyra felt the weight of her responsibility. "We answer the SOS not just with ships, but with fire and steel. This is what it means to be Deathworlders." The stars around Varka burned, bright as the battle began. The stars around Varka flashed with deadly light as the enemy fleet closed in. Commander Lyra stood firm on the bridge of the Valiant, her hands steady on the controls. Her crew moved quickly, checking weapons, shields, and communications. This was no ordinary fight. Something deeper was at stake. "Commander, we are receiving new intelligence from our scouts," the communications officer said. Lyra nodded. "Report." "The enemy ships are unlike anything we've faced before. They move in perfect coordination and have strange, organic-looking hulls. Sensors show they can adapt quickly to our attacks." Lyra frowned. "Organic hulls? This is no normal war machine." Suddenly a message came through, but it wasn't for them. It was a recorded transmission from the Varkan scientists, sent before the SOS signal. The message explained the terrifying truth. "The enemy," the scientist said, "is a parasitic species. They consume entire worlds, destroying life and leaving nothing but silence. Their ships are living creatures connected in a vast hive mind. They spread like a disease, and their goal is total annihilation." The room fell silent. The crew absorbed the horror of the revelation. Lyra's voice broke the quiet. "This parasite isn't just attacking Varka. It will consume every world it touches. We are not just fighting for one planet. We are fighting for the survival of all life in this part of the galaxy." The Valiant moved closer to the enemy fleet. The organic ships pulsed with life, their shapes shifting and changing as if breathing. The parasite was unlike anything the Deathworlders had ever faced. "Prepare. All weapons," Lyra ordered. "Focus on their command ship. If we can break their control, we might stop the spread." The battle began with brutal intensity. Energy blasts lit the dark space as the fleets clashed. The parasite's ships moved with unnatural speed, dodging attacks and striking back with deadly precision. The Deathworlders fought fiercely. Their ships, built for toughness and strategy, found ways to counter the parasite's strange biology. Missiles targeted weak points in the organic hulls, and electronic warfare scrambled the hive mind signals. Still, the parasite pushed forward. On the surface of Varka, Lieutenant Mara and her squad fought off swarms of parasite creatures. The ground shook with the movement of enormous beasts, part machine, part living flesh. The Varkans fought bravely alongside, the humans using their knowledge of the land to strike at the parasite's weak spots. In the chaos, Mara found herself face to face with a massive parasite beast. It roared and lunged, but Mara's training took over. With quick thinking and precise shots, she brought the creature down. Her squad cheered, but the victory was short-lived. "More are coming," a scout shouted. Back in space, the Valiants, shields flickered under heavy attack. "Commander, the parasite is adapting again. Their ships are forming new weapons. We need to act fast," the weapons officer warned. Lyra made a decision. Activate the experimental weapon. If this works, it could break the hive-mind connection. The weapon was a powerful energy pulse designed to disrupt organic systems. It charged slowly, building tension in the ship. Fire when ready, Lyra ordered. A bright wave of energy shot out from the Valiant, sweeping across the enemy fleet. The organic ships shuddered and lost coordination. One by one, they began to break apart. The parasite fleet faltered, retreating in disorder. Lyra allowed herself a small smile. We have bought time, but this parasite will return. We must find its source. The Varkan scientists worked with the Deathworlders to locate the parasite's home, an ancient dark world deep in the system. If they could destroy it, they might end the threat, for good. As the fleets regrouped, Lyra spoke to her crew. This fight is far from over. But today we showed the strength of humanity. We fight not because we want war, but because we protect life. The Deathworlders stood ready to face the parasite again, stronger and more united than ever. The Deathworlder fleet and the Varkans stood united. After the devastating battle, there was no time to rest. The parasite was still out there, and its homeworld lay deep within the system, waiting. Commander Lyra gathered her officers in the command room of the Valiant. Maps of the star system and the parasite's homeworld covered the walls. The room buzzed with quiet energy and focused minds. We have one chance to end this, Lyra said, pointing to the dark, cold planet at the edge of the system. That is where the parasite breeds and controls its forces. We must destroy it before it spreads to other worlds. The officers nodded. They knew the risks. The planet was a death world even for the parasite, a place of toxic storms, jagged mountains, and strange, dangerous creatures. But the Deathworlders were made for this kind of challenge. The landing teams prepared carefully. They loaded weapons, supplies, and special technology designed to weaken the parasite's control. Lieutenant Mara checked her squad, making sure everyone was ready. This is what we trained for, she said. Stay sharp, watch each other's backs, and we will survive. The fleet moved in formation toward the parasite's homeworld. The planet was a dark, swirling mass of storms and shadows. No sunlight reached its surface. The fleet's sensors struggled to see through the thick clouds. Landing zones identified, the pilot reported. We have 2 safe places to land troops. Lyra chose the closer site, a jagged plateau surrounded by deep ravines and twisted forests. The shuttle teams descended through violent storms, shaking as lightning cracked all around them. When the Yao landing crafts touched down, the soldiers spilled out into a world that felt alive and dangerous. The air was thick and smelled of decay. Strange sounds echoed from the dark forests, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Mara's squad moved carefully, scanning for enemy movements. The parasite's creatures were near, watching and waiting. Suddenly the ground shook violently. A massive creature burst from the trees, a living machine covered with armor plates and glowing eyes. It roared and charged at the soldiers. Mara fired her weapon, aiming for the weak spots they had discovered earlier. Her squad fought hard, working together to bring the beast down. It fell with a thunderous crash, but the fight was far from over. As they moved deeper into the planet, the teams found the parasite's nests, great hives of pulsing flesh and metal. The creatures inside hissed and swarmed as the soldiers attacked. The battle was fierce and chaotic, but the Deathworlders' training and determination kept them alive. Back in orbit, the fleet engaged the parasite's ships that tried to stop the landing. Space battles erupted with flashes of light and booming explosions. The Deathworlder ships fought with a fierce energy, protecting the troops below. In the underground tunnels of the parasite's homeworld, the Varkans and humans discovered a massive control core. It pulsed with dark energy, connected to every part of the planet and its creatures. Lyra ordered an assault on the core. The soldiers fought their way through waves of enemies, facing terrifying beasts and deadly traps. Many were wounded, but they pressed forward. Lieutenant Mara reached the core with her squad. The air hummed with energy. The core's surface shifted and changed like living metal. Mara planted explosives around the core while her squad kept the enemies at bay. "Get ready to retreat," she shouted. The explosives detonated, shaking the tunnels with a powerful blast. The control core shattered, and the dark energy began to fade. Outside, the parasites' forces faltered. Their creatures lost coordination, and the ships in orbit broke apart without direction. The Deathworlders and Varkans had won the battle. Commander Lyra looked at the burning planet below, and then at her tired but proud crew. We stopped the parasite today, but we must remain vigilant. There are many worlds out there that need our protection. The Varkans cheered, their hope renewed. The Deathworlders had not only saved a planet, they had sparked a new alliance and a new purpose. The war was not over, but humanity had shown its true power, not just to survive but to protect and fight for others. The parasite's homeworld was no more than a scorched memory drifting in space. The dark threat that once threatened to spread across the galaxy had been stopped, but the victory came at a cost. The Deathworlders and the Varkans had suffered heavy losses, yet their spirits remained unbroken. Commander Lyra stood on the bridge of the Valiant, gazing out at the slowly healing planet below. The smoke was clearing and signs of life were beginning to return. It was a new beginning, not only for the Varkans but for all who had fought alongside them. The crew worked tirelessly to rebuild communications with the survivors on the surface. Medical teams were sent down to aid the wounded. Engineers began restoring damaged technology. Slowly, hope grew stronger. Lyra knew this mission had changed everything. Humanity's role in the galaxy was no longer just about survival. It was about protection, strength, and unity. The Deathworlders had shown they could be saviors in a harsh universe. In a makeshift camp beneath the ruined sky, Lieutenant Mara walked among the Varkans. Children played near small fires, and elders shared stories of courage and survival. Mara felt a deep respect for these people who had endured so much. Tira, the Varkan leader, approached Mara with a smile. "You and your people saved us," Tira said quietly. "We owe you our lives. We want to learn from you, and we want to stand with you." Mara nodded. "We fight together now, not just for one world, but for many." The alliance between humans and Varkans grew stronger. Together, they formed a plan to create a network of allies across the stars, planets that had suffered from the parasite or other threats. They would share knowledge, train together, and protect each other. Back on Earth, news of the mission spread quickly. People cheered the Deathworlders as heroes, proud of what their kind had achieved. The Galactic Union, once slow and hesitant, began to see humanity in a new light. Lyra received a message from the Union Council. "Your courage and strength have saved many lives," the message read. "We invite the Deathworlders to join a new coalition for galaxy-wide defense and peace." Lyra smiled. "We accept. This is only the beginning." The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, but now there was a beacon of hope. Humanity, born on a harsh world, had become a protector, a force that could face the darkest threats and stand strong. As the Valiant prepared to leave orbit and return home, Lyra looked once more at the stars. The SOS signal that had called them to action was answered not just with ships but with courage and heart. The legacy of the Deathworlders was clear. They were survivors, warriors, and guardians of life, and the universe would never forget.